Good afternoon. My name is Kingsley, Engineer Kingsley Odo. I'm the Special Advisor to the Honorable Minister of Power, Technical Services for Nigeria. It's critical to mention that because this is an international event. I've been invited to speak on the topic Just Energy Transition Strategies for a Cleaner Future for Africa. Or to a cleaner future for Africa, I think something like that. So it's a very, very germane topic. Everywhere you go today, you hear energy transition, pathways to a just transition. And I'm glad that the topic here speaks to a just transition. But before I go into the topic proper, I want to first thank the organizers for having me, for being on your webinar. I want to thank you for thinking that we have some perspective to this. Let's believe that our perspective will not be some form of disruption, because we are in the real world practicing energy transition and stabilizing all kinds of transition issues that we have. So on the side of real practice, which is not the events that we've had all over the world, typically you COP26, COP27, all speaking, but the reality of it is another kettle of fish. So let's speak to this. Again, let me mention this very critically. It's a very critical aspect of this whole thing. I should have been at your webinar physically, but again, because of the kinds of responsibilities I have, I'm not able to come physically, but I'm sure this will do. I'll be able to manage my time properly in the future to accommodate the physical engagement, which I know would, attract a lot of fireworks and questions, and be able to engage along those lines. But suffice it to say that this recording will do for now, and thank you for creating the opportunity to have this recording. Now let's go straight to the topic proper, just energy transition. Like I mentioned earlier, we're speaking to a just transition. A just transition will seem to speak to fairness, will seem to speak to understanding a balance in various global approaches. The approach for the third world nation will certainly be a different approach for the very developed nations. And so just speaks to some kind of balance, and which is what I really would want to dwell on in this discussion. Let me speak to the reality of our world. Africa, and specifically Nigeria, has a lot of things they're battling with. Of course, you have heard of security issues, which is all over Africa. All kinds of issues of, I don't want to speak to poverty, all kinds of things. So the challenges we have in Africa are much more. It's heavy, and we cannot discount these challenges in dealing with energy transition issues. So one very critical thing, again, today that has disrupted the world is the Ukraine-Russian war. Russian-Ukraine war, whatever way you want to put it. But that had caused a disruption. First, you know that the energy transition discussions have totally changed. One, because energy issues have become issues in the front burner in the Western world, and this discussion it's been challenged a bit. Why? Because you can see in Europe, issues of energy or even gas or even fuel to keep the heating system running has become a big challenge, and people are resorting to burning firewoods. Cost of gas had gone up. Cost of everything has just totally changed. Why? Because of one disruption. In Africa, we have several disruptions. Several things are disrupting our daily lives in Africa. And therefore, we must be able to have all these things at the center of our discussions where we talk about energy transition. Now, survival has become critical, and you know Africa is a place where people need to survive. Now, when we talk about energy transition, we're talking about decarbonization, commitments that have been made by various countries. Nigeria specifically, we've committed to full decarbonization by 2060. It means that net zero positions across our platforms. Very ambitious commitment. You know, again, all the national determined contributions, NDCs of various countries have been put on the table, and then it requires the funding. Nigeria specifically needs about 410 billion, to fund our pathway. It means that what we need to gravitate towards net zero, 410 billion. This is over the surface expenses. We've not talked about the nitty-gritty expenses. Now, how do we raise these monies? Developed nations must contribute to ensuring that this happens. Now, I know that a lot of things have happened globally that is begging the question, are we able to really honor these pathways or honor these commitments that we have made? I recall that in Glasgow, COP26, commitments were made, all kinds of plenaries, and then COP27 came. Commitments were also made, and when we look back at the commitment in COP26 in Glasgow and the one that we had just recently in Sharm in Egypt, looking back, none of these commitments that were made in COP26 had been honored. None. And so people begin to ask, why are we not even fulfilling part of these commitments to be able to push towards net zero? And so these are grave concerns for all of us. Now, the good thing for Nigeria is that we have gas, and gas is one of the acceptable transition fuels. Fantastic. So we have a lot of work to do to develop our gas infrastructure, of course, with other renewable sources. But gas is the lowest hanging fruit for us in Nigeria. So the things that we can do is to develop the gas infrastructure, the gas value chain, ensure that a lot of things that we do gravitate towards cars that are driven or fueled by gas, aircrafts, just name it, across the value chain of transport and even our power plants. Let us see how we can ensure that gas takes center stage in all of this. And that will be good, because that's the lowest hanging fruit for us. See, I know there are all opportunities, hydrogen opportunities, wind, solar, and all of these renewable options. They're fantastic in themselves. But the first thing that we should do as a nation and as Africans is look for what is the lowest hanging fruit on your transition pathway. If you know what it is, identify it and focus on developing it, fanning it to flame to drive, your energy transition plans. Let's not forget, today, China still runs 50% of its power operation capacity on coal. The United States, these are all at the forefront of all of this. United States runs 21.9% on coal. And this is as we speak today. Nigeria has a coal facility and infrastructure that is untapped, largely untapped. And we're saying, don't touch it, nobody would invest in it, because you cannot source investments from the European credit agencies, ECAs, or even the Exim banks of our world. But we must rally ourselves, because China says that they are able to get coal that the carbon emission is insignificant, if you like. America had not made those commitments, but today we know that United States of America, runs 21.9% on coal of the entire energy value chain. Power value chain. So there's fossil, there is coal, and there's, of course, wind and solar and all of that. We must tell ourselves the truth in Africa. We have coal. Nigeria, for example, I'm still trying to get the quantum of coal that is, that we have as reserve in Nigeria. But we must structure to develop it and to make sure that we have the best of technologies to drive it so that the carbon emission is low. Globally, coal is the cheapest form of fuel. And we're saying, why can we not explore what we have that nature has given us? So I'm saying that these disruptions are critical. For me, like I said earlier, I said this because it's important. I said I am not saying what I'm not telling you these things because it's what's acceptable and what's accepted by global standards of energy transition. But I'm saying this as an African and as a Nigerian, and the truth that we have in terms of our reality today, that we have gas, we have coal. Our wind is not very, okay, unless in the northern side of Nigeria, we've got strong wind, but not comparable to Egypt. Egypt, I see that they have massive roadmap for wind, with a whole coastal line to be able to do all of those. Fantastic. That is, again, their lowest hanging fruit. Let's define what we want as Africa. Look for your lowest hanging fruit, develop it. If it's in line with the energy transition plan, remember your topic is strategies for this. If it's in line with the energy transition plan, so be it. If not, go and explore strategies and technologies that would ensure that the carbon emission in your technology, for example, in our case, coal, let's find ways to ensure that the carbon emission is low. And there are technologies to explore to make sure that the carbon, or even combined cycle, so that as it comes out, the carbon is reused to be able to, so before what comes out to the atmosphere is clean carbon, if you like. So I'm saying that these are things we need to do. So if you ask me, I would say, one, explore our gas opportunities. It's massive. Two, because we have huge reserve of water, maybe down the road when hydrogen becomes very fantastic, we should also explore the hydrogen opportunity as a source of fuel. Three, wind. Hydro is already very heavy for us, so we have good hydro today. Our hydro capacity is good in this country. If we harness it, it can give us up to 10 gigawatts, if not more. So hydro is fantastic. Wind and solar. Solar is good because we've got huge sunlight. Wind, maybe just a section of the country. So these are the things, areas that Nigeria must look at, or Africa indeed, because there are peculiarities in all of the African space. So things we must look at, but every country must look for its lowest hanging fruit. In the case of Nigeria, it is gas. We have it 200, I think it's 200 cubic, I don't know, about 200, I think it's 200 cubic metric tons of gas in our reserve untapped. And I'm saying we can, but please, that's arguable. So, but I need to reconfirm that, but I think that's what it is. So we have gas, so we can refine and ensure that we develop strategies to ensure that our gas value chain is properly mined to give us what we want. Especially not forgetting that it's one of the energy transition fields. Secondly is can explore those opportunities as well. Hydro is good for us. We've got lots of waterways, volumes of water seated in various up north, waterfalls, all kinds of things, so we can explore that. Third in the category is sun, which is solar, and the fourth is maybe possibly wind. These are the strategies I think we can, and let's not forget, I would not stop until I talk about coal, which is the fifth for us. Fifth, coal must be explored because we've got huge reserve, and I think it's important for us to explore these 5 strategies to be on the pathway for the future for Africa. Thank you very much for having me. If you have any questions, I'm glad to take them, but well, maybe offline. I'll pass them to me and I will deal with them in the course of time. Thanks for having me and do have a great day. I wish you guys wonderful deliberations as you talk about cleaner future for Africa. Thank you.